The night duty was tested. The rain over London that night felt heavier than weather. It felt like history pressing down. Buckingham Palace stood glowing under storm clouds, its golden windows shining like watchful eyes over the city. Crowds had gathered outside the gates, reporters, citizens, critics, supporters.
The breach is
Everyone
confirmed.
waiting.
We must act now.
Tonight,
Deploying
Princess
teams to
Anne was
Sector
supposed
7.
to speak,
Communications are stable. No
not as a
leaks.
daughter,
Perimeter secure.
not as a
Standing by.
sister, not even as royalty, but as a symbol. Inside the palace, silence ruled. Polished marble floors reflected chandelier light. Portraits of monarchs watched from the walls, their painted eyes seeming to judge every breath taken beneath them. Princess Anne stood alone near a tall window overlooking the palace gardens. Her posture was straight. Her chin was raised. Her hands were folded. But her fingers trembled. She hadn't slept in 3 nights. The scandal headlines had been everywhere. Accusations, rumors, political pressure. None proven. None fully denied. Just enough to poison public opinion.
My love, don't cry.
Royal life trained you
I'm
to
just
endure,
so afraid.
not to
We
break.
are stronger
But
together.
tonight, something inside her felt close to cracking. Behind her, standing like statues, were the royal guards. Red coats, black bearskin hats, unmoving, unfeeling, at
Perimeter
least from the
breach, Sector
outside.
4. Lock
Among
it
them
down
stood
now.
Guard Lieutenant Daniel Harrow, age 30, former military medic, decorated for bravery during overseas humanitarian missions.
Target identified.
New
Locking
to palace
coordinates.
ceremonial
Initiate
duty.
pursuit
To
protocol.
most people, ceremonial
stand
guard
by.
duty looked simple.
My lords and
Stand
ladies,
still.
the time has come
Stay
to unite.
silent.
Together
Become
we
part
shall
of the
forge a
palace
brighter
itself.
future for all.
But Daniel knew something outsiders didn't. You don't stop being a protector just because you stop moving. You watch. You read. You anticipate danger before it happens. And right now, something felt wrong. The moment nobody else saw,
Gentlemen, we must
Princess
act
Anne
now.
lifted her
The
hand
risks
slowly
are
toward her
considerable,
throat.
but the
A
rewards are
tiny
greater.
movement, almost invisible. But Daniel saw it. Her breathing changed. Shorter, shallow, unsteady. He had seen this before, not in battle, but in hospital tents, in trauma wards, in people trying to hold themselves together while everything inside them collapsed. Panic, real panic, not fear of danger, fear of losing control. Another step forward. Her heel slipped slightly on polished marble. She caught herself on the wall. No one else moved. Protocol said, unless there is a physical threat, do not interfere. Daniel's training said, if you wait too long you lose them. His pulse hammered. Inside his head, 2 voices fought. Voice 1, stay still. You are ceremonial. Breaking formation ends careers. Voice 2, you protect people, not systems. Princess Anne closed her eyes. Her shoulders tightened. That was it. Daniel stepped forward. The sound that changed everything. His boot echoed across the marble hall. 1 step. That was all it took. Every guard noticed. Staff gasped. Security turned instantly. Protocol had just been shattered. Daniel walked toward her calmly, each step measured, controlled, even while adrenaline screamed through him. He stopped 2 steps away. Soft voice. Low enough only she could hear. Your Highness, breathe with me. Her eyes opened. Confusion. Then recognition. He wasn't threatening her. He was grounding her. In through your nose. 4 seconds. Hold. Out slow. Security rushed forward. Command voices shouted. But Daniel kept eye contact. Steady. Human. Real. She followed. 1 breath. Then another. Color slowly returned to her face. The whisper. Security grabbed Daniel's shoulders. He had seconds left. He leaned closer and whispered. Strength isn't silence. Strength is surviving. Princess Anne's eyes filled instantly. Not from weakness. From release. From being seen as a person, not a symbol. Security pulled him back. Commander Ellis stormed forward, furious. Remove him. But then, Princess Anne spoke. Stop. Everything froze. The royal choice. She turned slowly. Back straight. Voice steady. Release him. Security hesitated. She repeated, firmer. That is an order. They released Daniel. He stood straight, ready for punishment. Instead, she stepped closer. Quiet voice. Why did you do that? Daniel answered honestly. My mother, your highness, she struggled after my father passed. I learned the signs. Silence stretched. Understanding passed between them. Grief recognized grief. The decision that shocked the palace. Princess Anne turned toward staff and security leadership. The press statement is postponed. Gasp spread. Your Highness, Parliament expects. They will wait. Her voice carried something new. Not royal authority. Personal strength. I will not stand in front of cameras while pretending I am unaffected by lies. She looked once more at Daniel, then walked toward the private wing. The storm outside raged louder, but inside, something had shifted. The holding room. Daniel sat alone in a gray security room. He knew consequences were coming. Dismissal. Dishonor. Career over. The door opened. Commander Ellis entered. Long silence. Then, you broke 3 centuries of protocol. Yes, sir. You may lose everything. I understand, sir. Another long silence. Then Ellis asked quietly,
"We must act now."
Would you do it
Deploying teams to
again?
Sector 7.
Daniel
Communications are
answered
stable,
without
no leaks.
Perimeter
hesitation.
secure, standing by.
Yes, sir. The commander studied him, then said something unexpected. Good. Daniel blinked. Ellis sighed. Somewhere along the line, we started protecting rules more than people. He turned toward the door. Stay here. Await further instruction. But Daniel noticed something. The commander didn't look angry anymore. He looked thoughtful. Meanwhile, in the private royal wing, Princess Anne sat alone. Storm thunder rolled outside. She replayed the words in her mind. Strength isn't silence. Strength is surviving. For years she had believed. Duty meant never showing pain. Tonight, someone reminded her she was allowed to be human. She stood, walked to her desk, picked up her prepared press speech. Read the first line. Then slowly, tore it in half. The storm breaks. Outside the palace gates, crowds grew restless. Inside the palace, a different storm was forming. One that would change. A guard's destiny. A princess's public image. And the future of royal protocol itself. The storm behind palace walls. The morning after the storm did not bring peace. It brought headlines. Across London, news stations replayed grainy footage captured through palace windows. A royal guard stepping out of formation, security rushing forward, confusion rippling through the grand hall. No one knew what had been said. But everyone knew something had happened. And in the world of royalty, mystery was fuel. The media frenzy. Royal protocol breached inside palace. Princess Anne cancels statement last minute. Who is the guard who moved? Speculation exploded across social media. Some called the guard a hero. Others called him reckless. Inside Buckingham Palace, however, the atmosphere was colder than the November rain. Daniel's waiting. Lieutenant Daniel Harrow sat in administrative holding. Not a prison. Not freedom either. His ceremonial uniform had been replaced with a plain service uniform. His ceremonial career, already under review. He had slept maybe 1 hour. But strangely, he felt calm. Because he knew one thing. He had helped someone when it mattered. And no court of protocol could erase that. The Royal Council meeting. Inside a private chamber, senior royal advisors gathered. Security command. Legal advisors. Public relations officials. Senior palace administration. At the head of the table sat Princess Anne. Not as a symbol. As a decision maker. A senior advisor spoke first. Your Highness, the breach has triggered constitutional concern. If guards begin acting independently. They won't, she said calmly. Then why did this one? Silence filled the room. Finally she answered. Because he saw a human being. Not a title. That sentence alone shifted the room. Some advisors looked uncomfortable. Others, thoughtful. The hidden pressure. One political liaison spoke carefully. Your Highness. Parliament is concerned. The scandal accusations still dominate headlines. Canceling the statement has raised suspicion. And folded her hands. 4 years the monarchy has survived by appearing untouchable. She paused. Perhaps it is time we appear honest instead. No one spoke after that. Because everyone knew. This was bigger than one guard. This was about the image of the crown itself. Daniel is summoned. 2 hours later, Daniel was escorted, not to dismissal, to a private audience room. He stepped inside. Princess Anne stood near the fireplace. No press. No advisors. No security beyond standard distance. Just them. Lieutenant Harrow, she said. He bowed. I assume I am being formally discharged, Your Highness. She almost smiled. No. Daniel blinked. You are being reassigned. His brain took a second to process. To where, Your Highness? She studied him carefully. To a unit that understands the difference between ceremony and protection. The truth she admits. She stepped closer, voice quieter. Last night, I was not afraid of the crowd. Daniel said nothing. I was afraid I would break in front of them. That I would confirm every rumor that I am weak. Daniel answered gently. Strength isn't never falling apart, Your Highness. She nodded slowly. Yes. I am beginning to understand that. The new assignment. You will join Royal Close Protection Training. Daniel's heart jumped. That was elite. Not ceremonial. Real protection. You risked your career for duty, she said. Not to me. To what you believed protection meant. He swallowed. Yes, Your Highness. And I reward loyalty to people. Not systems. Meanwhile, the scandal grows darker. Outside palace walls, something else was unfolding. The original scandal accusations weren't random. A quiet investigation inside palace intelligence units had begun, and early signs showed something troubling. The accusations had been coordinated, amplified, almost like someone wanted Princess and removed from influence. The commander's confession. Later that night, Commander Alice visited Daniel again. You changed something yesterday, Alice said. Daniel frowned. Sir? The princess has ordered review of ceremonial guard mental health training protocols. Daniel froze. Real change. From one moment. One action can ripple farther than you think, Alice said. Then added quietly. You reminded me why I joined. The princess faces the mirror. Alone again in her private quarters, Princess and stood before a mirror. For the first time in months, she didn't see headlines. She didn't see pressure. She saw herself. Daughter. Soldier of duty. Human being. And she realized something powerful. The crown was not weakened by humanity. It was strengthened by it. The public statement, rewritten. That evening she drafted a new speech. Not defensive. Not apologetic. Honest. About pressure. About responsibility. About resilience. And for the first time, she planned to speak as both royal and person. The shadow behind the crown. London woke under gray skies again. But this time, the storm wasn't weather. It was political. And it was moving faster than anyone inside Buckingham Palace expected. The leak that changed everything. At 6:40 a.m., Palace Intelligence received an encrypted report. Subject line. Media narrative, artificial amplification confirmed. Inside the report. Coordinated negative articles released within minutes of each other. Anonymous sources repeating identical phrasing. Social media bot networks boosting specific accusations. Financial links traced to 3 shell media agencies. This wasn't random scandal. It was engineered. And the target was Princess Anne's influence over several humanitarian funding programs and military veteran support policies. Inside the Palace Intelligence Wing, Senior Analyst Miriam Clark spoke quietly in Briefing Room 3. We believe someone wants her reputation damaged enough to remove her from policy influence. Security Director Halvorsen asked, foreign or domestic? Miriam answered carefully. Too early to say. But the funding pattern suggests powerful interests. Silence followed. Because everyone understood what that meant. Not enemies outside the country. Possibly enemies inside it. Princess Anne receives the truth. The briefing was delivered privately. Princess Anne listened without interrupting. When it ended, she asked only one question. Are veterans still receiving support funding? Miriam blinked. Yes, Your Highness. Then we continue. No panic. No fear. Just clarity. The same clarity her mother had been known for. Daniel's training begins. Meanwhile, Daniel Harrow entered Royal Close Protection Advanced Training. Unlike ceremonial duty, this was intense. Close quarters response drills. Threat behavior psychology. Medical rapid response scenarios. Crowd chaos simulations. On day 1, his instructor said, protection is not about stopping threats. It's about predicting them. Daniel understood that better than most. Because he had lived it. The past that quietly drives him. That night, alone in training barracks, Daniel opened a small photo on his phone. His younger sister, Emily. Laughing. Alive. After their father's death, she had nearly broken under grief and pressure. Panic attacks. Isolation. Silence. Daniel had once arrived too late to help during her worst episode. She survived. But he never forgot that feeling. Helplessness. That was why he stepped forward that night in the palace. Not for glory. For prevention. The public appearance returns. 3 days later. Princess Anne announced a live public address. Not defensive. Not aggressive. Truthful. The palace balcony overlooked a massive crowd. Daniel wasn't on ceremonial duty anymore. But he was there. Part of shadow protection. Watching. Reading. Anticipating. The speech that shifted public opinion. Princess Anne stepped forward. No trembling hands. No forced composure. Just calm strength. I stand before you not as someone untouched by pressure, but as someone who understands it. Crowd silence. I will not step away from service because of rumor. I will step forward because service matters more than reputation. Applause started slowly, then grew, then roared. Across social media, something shifted. The narrative lost control. The hidden countermove. But inside intelligence networks, a new alert triggered. Encrypted communication between two private political consultants. Phase 2 failed. Public sympathy increasing. New strategy required. The game was far from over. Commander Ellis meets Daniel again. After training hours, Ellis called Daniel into his office. You should know, Ellis said quietly. Your decision that night started a chain reaction. Daniel frowned. Sir? The princess has authorized full transparency audit of palace media handling. Daniel blinked. That was huge. Royal media handling was historically private. Systems only improve when someone forces them to, Ellis said. Princess Anne's private realization. Later that night, Anne walked alone through palace gardens. Cold air. Quiet fountains. She thought about her mother. About duty. About image. About survival. And she realized something powerful. The crown wasn't fragile, but the people serving it were human. And protecting them meant allowing truth, not perfection. The threat moves closer. Meanwhile, an anonymous source attempted to leak falsified financial documents linking Princess Anne to misuse of funds. But palace intelligence intercepted the release early. Someone was escalating, getting desperate, and desperate opponents made mistakes. The past that refused to stay buried. The palace clock struck midnight. Most of London slept. But inside Buckingham Palace, lights were still burning. Because the investigation into the scandal had crossed a line. It was no longer about reputation. It was about power. And power never surrendered quietly. The discovery. At 12:18 a.m., Palace Intelligence received another classified file. This one wasn't media analysis. It was personal. A financial trail connected to multiple shell charities. Which connected to a lobbying firm. Which connected to a consulting company. Which once employed. A name Daniel Harrow recognized instantly. Marcus Hale. Daniel's former military commanding officer. Daniel gets the call. At 1:05 a.m., Daniel was called into Security Director Halvorson's office. Inside sat Security Director Halvorson, Commander Ellis, Senior Intelligence Analyst Miriam Clark, and on the table, a file with his past unit records. Halvorson spoke carefully. Lieutenant Harrow, do you know a man named Marcus Hale? Daniel's jaw tightened. Yes, sir. Describe him. Daniel answered slowly. Brilliant strategist. Extremely persuasive. But, believed results mattered more than rules. Miriam slid a photo across the table. Corporate profile photo. Marcus Hale. Now CEO of a private geopolitical consulting firm. The past mission. Daniel leaned back, memories rising. 5 years earlier. Humanitarian escort mission overseas. Supplies meant for refugee camps were rerouted. Sold on black markets. Daniel had reported irregularities. The investigation disappeared. Marcus Hale was quietly reassigned. Daniel was transferred. At the time, Daniel thought it was just military politics. No, it looked like something bigger. The connection to the present. Miriam spoke quietly. Hale's firm has financial links to 2 media agencies responsible for amplifying the accusations against the princess. Silence filled the room. Ellis asked the real question. Do you believe he would orchestrate something like this? Daniel answered without hesitation. Yes. Why target the princess? Halvorson tapped the table. Princess Anne has been pushing veteran rehabilitation funding reform. Daniel's eyes widened. Marcus Hale had long history of private military contractor relationships. The veteran support system strengthened. Private contract dependency decreased. Money shifted. Influence shifted. Power shifted. Princess Anne learns the truth. The briefing reached her at 3 a.m. She listened quietly. Then asked, is this confirmed? Strong evidence, Your Highness. Still building full case. She nodded. Then said something unexpected. Then we do not react emotionally. We respond with transparency. Daniel's internal conflict. Back in barracks, Daniel couldn't sleep. If Hale was behind this, then stepping forward that night had unknowingly put him directly into the path of something dangerous. But he also knew something else. Hale hated unpredictability. And Daniel was unpredictable. The private conversation. Later that morning, Princess Anne requested a private meeting with Daniel. No advisors. No press. Just truth. You knew this man once, she said. Yes, Your Highness. Is he dangerous? Daniel thought carefully. Not physically reckless, but extremely calculated. She nodded. Then we must be smarter, not louder. The emotional moment. Before Daniel left, she said quietly, You did more than help me that night. Daniel looked confused. You reminded me that fear does not disqualify leadership. She paused. My mother used to say strength is not loud. It is steady. Daniel nodded. Yes, Your Highness. The counter-strategy begins. Instead of public accusations, Princess Anne did something unexpected. She accelerated veteran funding reforms. Publicly. Transparently. With full media access. If someone wanted her influence gone, she would make that influence impossible to remove. The pressure turns. Within days, public support increased. Veteran groups rallied behind her. Media narrative softened. Political pressure shifted. And somewhere in a private corporate office, Marcus Hale watched the news silently. Because the plan was failing. The message. One evening, palace security intercepted an anonymous message sent to an encrypted palace tip line. Only 6 words. Stop digging. Some histories stay buried. Daniel read it and felt something cold settle in his chest. Because he knew Hale's style. Not threats. Warnings. The decision that changed the crown forever. London felt different the morning the final phase began. Not calmer. Not safer. But expectant. Like the city itself knew something important was about to happen. Inside Buckingham Palace, movement began before sunrise. Security teams rotated early. Intelligence units cross-checked communications. Legal teams prepared sealed documentation. Public relations drafted multiple statement scenarios. And at the center of it all, Princess Anne stood at her office window, watching dawn crawl across London's skyline. Not afraid. Not angry. Focused. The final intelligence confirmation. At 6:12 a.m., Security Director Halvorsen entered her office. Your Highness, we have confirmation. He placed a folder on her desk. Inside, financial transaction maps, corporate ownership structures, communications intercept summaries, legal risk assessments. Marcus Hale's consulting firm had not only helped amplify false narratives, they had financially supported groups lobbying against veteran reform legislation. Indirectly, carefully, but traceable. Not criminal, but unethical enough to destroy credibility publicly. The royal strategy.
Gentlemen, we must
Princess Anne closed the folder. We do not attack, she said. Halvorsen nodded. You will present facts publicly? Yes. She stood. Truth is more durable than retaliation. Daniel's final briefing. Daniel stood in full close protection uniform. Not ceremonial red. Dark navy operational attire. Commander Ellis spoke quietly. Today is about prevention, not confrontation. Daniel nodded. But Ellis added something unexpected. You did the right thing that night. Daniel looked surprised. Ellis continued. And because you did, the palace is about to change. The meeting that could change power. Location, Private Government Contract Oversight Conference, London Financial District. Marcus Hale attended as a respected consultant. Confident. Prepared. Unaware that palace intelligence had prepared documentation for legal transparency review. Princess Anne would not confront him personally. Instead, she would release verified facts during her afternoon public address. Let truth dismantle power quietly. The emotional center. Before leaving for her speech rehearsal, Princess Anne requested one last conversation with Daniel. You know something important, she said. Your Highness. Systems survive because people inside them remember why they exist. She paused. You reminded me of that. Daniel swallowed. It was my duty, Your Highness. No, she said softly. It was your character. The public address. The moment history shifted. That afternoon, cameras from across the world broadcast live. Princess Anne stepped forward. Crowd silent. Camera steady. She spoke calmly. Leadership is not about never facing opposition. It is about choosing integrity even when opposition is loud. She presented verified facts. Not accusations. Data. Financial relationships. Policy interference attempts. She never said Marcus Hale's name. She didn't need to. Journalists connected the rest within hours. The public reaction. By evening, media narratives flipped. Investigative journalists expanded the story. Veteran organizations publicly thanked her. Political leaders shifted stance. Marcus Hale's firm issued neutral statements. But contract negotiations quietly stalled. Influence weakened. The royal decision that changed tradition. 3 days later, inside Buckingham Palace ceremonial chamber, senior guard leadership assembled. Princess and stood before them. For centuries, royal guard protocol prioritized visible perfection. She paused. From today forward, protection will include Human Welfare Response Authority. Room silent. Then Commander Alice saluted. Because history had just changed. Daniel's new future. Weeks later, Daniel received official notice. Permanent assignment to Royal Close Protection. Advanced Behavioral Threat Recognition Leadership Track. Advisory role in New Guard Human Response Training Program. One decision. One step forward. One moment of choosing people over rules. And everything changed. The final private moment. That evening, Palace Gardens glowed under sunset. Princess Anne walked past Daniel on duty rotation. She paused briefly. Lieutenant Harrow. Yes, Your Highness. My mother believed duty and humanity must walk together. She gave a small, real smile. I think she would approve of where we are now. Then she walked on. The final message. Months later, the scandal faded. Reform strengthened. Guard training evolved. Public trust increased. And inside the palace, something subtle but powerful had changed. Not tradition, but understanding. Because the crown was not just history. It was people. And people needed protection. Not just from threats, but from pressure. From isolation. From silence. The final scene. Late night. Rain returned to London. Daniel stood watch under palace lights. So, focused, but different now. Because he understood something most never would. Sometimes, history changes not because someone planned it, but because someone stepped forward. When everyone else stayed still. Crown the end.